A cry for the young people to stay away from drugs. Rush of the eye.
Oh, you're young and you're future.
Just a short while ago, I thought I should visit the Bayfront, and get a real story from somebody
Depends on what you do.
who's crying out for help.
In the wrong direction. Your constitution.
And I thought I would share that story with you this afternoon.
And confusion. Then corruption. To gain a man. And that is not God's plan. Cuidado, mis hijos. To my punch. Cuidado.
So as I said, I spent a few minutes before I came on the radio this afternoon there to hear the real story, the story of one person who is and admits that he's on the hard drugs, and he's telling me his story. So Dominica, this is no fake. This is real, and I want you to understand what's going on with the young men out there. Listen to that story, very compelling story, a cry for help. So I'm at the basement, actually. I'm trying to get to the ground to understand why these young men get themselves deeply involved in drugs. What can you tell me?
Well, to my understanding, with most of the guys I know that smoking drugs, a lot of them start using drugs because of frustration and bad influence. You understand? Because a lot of them, they say weed is the healing of the nation, but weed is the gateway drug to all addiction. Some start smoke weed and then they want a higher high, they choose crack. Well, in my situation, I started smoking weed and I was tricked into smoking crack by a man that's smoking crack. They mix it with the weed and they pass it for me how much times, and I had no idea. I check, a friend of mine used to be there, he himself was smoking it and I didn't know he's smoking it, and it's after, he come and confess to me.
You were not on hard drugs?
But I didn't just choose to wake up this morning and say I'm going to buy a pack of cocaine. You check, and that I meet a lot of guys today, even young girls. Man, it is shocking in Dominica now.
So you see girls in that too?
My brother, it is shocking in Dominica now. There are certain gates, they call them, in Roseau. Some school children I just see go in there when they come out of school. And it's not just crack that in Dominica now, yeah. It have meth. In Dominica have meth, powder. A lot of young people on powder right now. I telling you, Matt, we need a solution in terms of the government have to think right now to make a rehabilitation center. We need that in Dominica ASAP.
It appears that you want to get all of the drugs.
If it had a rehabilitation center in Dominica today, right now, I would walk in there and tell them I need help. I want crack is a thing. When I wake up in the morning, I willing not to smoke, but certain time of the day, the cravings hitting me, and when the cravings hit me, Matt, I have to find a way to buy a piece of cocaine. Beg of $5, and for them I smoke that piece. Like I come back normal, I feel into work.
How many times a day you would take that?
Boy, sometimes I can't even come. Sometimes when I don't have money, and the dealers in Roseau right now, they give me don't have so much drugs, so much cocaine right now.
A lot of dealers too?
A lot of dealers. Well, please have plenty drugs, but plenty dealers. Them man giving you cocaine for nothing, and when they give you the stone, you have to buy by them for the day. They giving it to you for free. Look at they call it open eyes. They open in your eyes, and whoever dealer open your eyes, you have to continue buying for the day. So right now we're in a problem. We're in a serious problem in Dominica, brother. With that drug business.
You're one who have always told me that you need help.
I need help. I went to different institutions for help. I went to the government for help. The department. I live in Roseau, and Melissa promised us she will do something for us. I still waiting. My brother. I still waiting for her to open some kind of a center, because not just me. There are a lot of women, young women, grown-up women, young men that telling me, boy, I want to stop, but the help, and I know about the cravings, man. I know about the cravings. The cravings not easy. When you see we get the cravings in the morning, that is what drives 90 or even 100% of users to smoke.
So you need to have that high.
We need to have that high. All the time we don't have that high, we're not normal. But under the high, we're not normal. The high trying to let us believe we will be normal. But the body, cocaine does a thing, it captures the mind. Because when I was in Antigua and I went to Crossroad, I learned it captures the mind. It's a disease. It takes over a certain portion of the mind and
Kind of damages the brain.
It damages the. We cannot think straight. You know, we need to be on medication because when you go to the rehab, they put you on medication for the first week, 2 weeks. You know, to get that cocaine business out of your system. You know, so it's not just a lot of people saying, "Oh, if you want to stop, you can stop." There are people who did it through the grace of God, but there are people who need medication to help them stop.
How much money you spend, and what would you do to get that crack?
Matt, I wash in vehicles. Sometimes for the day, maybe over 100. Sometimes if I don't have money,
really?
Yeah, not every day. You know, not every day. You know, sometimes I don't get no vehicle to wash. So days I don't get no vehicle to wash. The dealers will pass. They'll pass on bike. They'll pass in their car, and they'll tell me, "Oh, go and say, look up for tomorrow." But I must, if they give me a 50 and I do pay tomorrow, it come in 100. So I have to find a way to give them
that. But it can become dangerous, though.
Matt, the amount of people I know, the amount of right now in Roseau have so much disappearance. I don't want to talk too much because crackheads and what you call them, those just disappear Roseau. On one hand, I can come over 10 paros I know that does disappear. Man and woman, that does disappear. Who steal dealers' crack and they disappear. Who take dealers' drugs and they could not pay, they disappear. It's a dangerous business. It's a dangerous business, but asking God to guide and protect me and take me out of that crack cocaine business, brother.
You need help.
I need help. I need help. No, yesterday I need help. You know?
Okay, bro.
All right.
You, huh?
Yeah, no problem, brother.
Yeah, well, you know, somebody's just indicating to me, Matt, this interview just have me crying. It's a real story, you know. This morning we also spoke to social scientist Mr. Simeon Joseph. I suspect he might join us a little time later. But we're looking for answers. You heard the story there. Those of you who missed it, I'll try to repeat it for you again. You heard the story there from a cocaine addict on the Bayfront right there, telling you, he needs help. And the authorities are doing nothing about it. So just for emphasis, I say just for emphasis, I want to repeat this young man's story. Listen again, Dominica, before we introduce Mr. Simeon Joseph, social scientist, on the telephone. So I'm at the Bayfront, actually. I'm trying to get to the ground to understand why these young men get themselves deeply involved in drugs. What can you tell me?
Well, to my understanding, with most of the guys I know that smoking drugs, a lot of them start using drugs because of frustration and bad influence. You understand? Because a lot of them, they say weed is the healing of the nation, but weed is the gateway drug to all addiction. Some start smoke weed and then they want a higher high, they choose crack. Well, in my situation, I started smoking weed and I was tricked into smoking crack by a man that's smoking crack. They mix it with the weed and they pass it for me how much times and I had no idea. I check, a friend of mine used to be there, he himself was smoking it and I didn't know he's smoking it, and it's after, you know, he come and confess to me.
You were not on hard drugs?
No, I didn't just choose to wake up this morning and say I'm going to buy a pack of cocaine. You check, and that I meet a lot of guys today, even young girls. Man, it is shocking in Dominica now.
So you see girls in that too?
My brother, it is shocking in Dominica now. There are certain gates, they call them, in Roseau. Some school children I just see go in there when they come out of school. You know, and it's not just crack that in Dominica now, yeah. It have meth. You know, in Dominica have meth, powder. A lot of young people on powder right now. You know, I telling you, Matt, we need a solution in terms of the government have to think right now to make a rehabilitation center. We need that in Dominica ASAP.
But it appears that you want to get all of the drugs.
If it had a rehabilitation center in Dominica today, right now, I would walk in there and tell them I need help. You know, I want crack is a thing. When I wake up in the morning, I willing not to smoke. But certain time of the day, the cravings hitting me. And when the cravings hit me, Matt, I have to find a way to buy a piece of cocaine. Beg $5. And for them, I smoke that piece. Like I come back normal. I feel into work.
So how many times a day you would take that?
Boy, sometimes I can't even come. Sometimes when I don't have money, and the dealers in Roseau right now, they giving don't have so much drugs, so much cocaine right now.
A lot of dealers too?
A lot of dealers. Well, please have plenty drugs, but plenty dealers. You know, them man giving you cocaine for nothing, and when they give you the stone, you have to buy them for the day. They're giving it to you for free. Look at open, they call it open eyes. They open in your eyes, and whoever dealer open your eyes, you have to continue buying for the day. So right now we're in a problem. We're in a serious problem in Dominica, brother. We've got drug business.
You're one who have always told me that you need help.
I need help. You know, I went to different institutions for help. I went to the government for help. I live in Roseau, and Melissa promised us she will do something for us. I still waiting. You know, my brother. I still waiting for her to open some kind of a center, because not just me. There are a lot of women, young women, grown-up women, young men that telling me, boy, I want to stop, but the help, and I know about the cravings, man. I know about the cravings. The cravings not easy. When you see we get the cravings in the morning, that is what drives 90 or even 100% of users to smoke.
So you need to have that high.
We need to have that high. All the time we don't have that high, we're not normal. But under the high, we're not normal. The high trying to let us believe we will be normal. But the body, cocaine does a thing, it captures the mind. Because when I was in Antigua and I went to Crossroad, I learned it captures the mind. It's a disease. It takes over a certain portion of the mind, and
it kind of damages the brain.
It damages the. We cannot think straight. We need to be on medication, because when you go to the rehab, they put you on medication for the first week, 2 weeks, to get that cocaine business out of your system. So it's not just a lot of people saying, oh, if you want to stop, you can stop. There are people who did it through the grace of God, but there are people who need medication to help them stop.
How much money you spend, and what would you do to get that crack?
Matt, I wash in vehicles. Sometimes for the day, maybe over 100. Sometimes if I don't have money,
really?
Yeah, not every day. Not every day. Sometimes I don't get no vehicle to wash. So days I don't get no vehicle to wash. The dealers will pass. They'll pass on bike. They'll pass in their car, and they'll tell me, "Oh, say, look up for tomorrow." But I must, if they give me a 50 and I do pay tomorrow, it come in 100. So I have to find a way to give them that.
But it can become dangerous, though.
Matt, the amount of people I know, the amount of right now in Roseau have so much disappearance. I don't want to talk too much, because crackheads and well, they call them those just disappear Roseau. On one hand, I can come over 10 paros I know that does disappear. Man and woman, that does disappear. Who steal dealers' crack and they disappear. Who take dealers' drugs and they could not pay, they disappear. It's a dangerous business. It's a dangerous business, but asking God to guide and protect me and take me out of that crack cocaine business, brother.
You need help.
I need help. I need help. No, yesterday I need help.
Okay, bro.
All right. You, huh? Yeah, no problem, brother. Yeah.
A cry for help. Are we gonna stand by and don't listen? And we call ourselves a society that cares. And this morning I also spoke to Mr. Simeon Joseph, who shared some sentiments.
Any conscious, mindful, responsible citizen must be concerned. We're not only talking about the use of drugs, we are talking about the destruction of human life. We are talking about the undermining of human dignity. We are talking about wasted human resource. We are talking about the declining potential and resourcefulness for young males in society. We are basically talking about how you call it now, the submission of males and young people into a degenerate class of citizens when that the country will be deprived of in the future. And above all, we're talking about the destruction of a human soul. So we're not only talking about physical and mental destruction of human beings, we're talking about the complete destruction of the soul of a human being. And one must be concerned.
But Simeon, Mr. Joseph, have you realized, and people are making the points that since we have seen the decriminalization there of the drug cannabis, we've seen a lot more young men on the streets. Do you think that we can make a nexus there?
Well, I don't think we can say it has been decriminalized. We have to be careful with the terminologies. We have to talk about the legalization of the use of a certain quantity of drugs because when one looks at the use, abuse, and misuse of drugs, we have to understand these three categories. There's the use of drugs, there's the abuse of drugs, and the misuse of drugs. What we have in society is an overwhelming use of illegal substances that leads to the abuse of those substances. And so that is where the problem lies. And the question has to be asked, how did we come to that? How has our society come to the stage where our young men, and increasingly so our young women, I'm not sure you are paying attention to that as well. Look at the revelry that is happening in Dominica. Throw it back to your discussion on Monday. And you look at the behaviors and the indulging of our young people into drugs and alcohol and those kind of things there. We cannot separate the two. And so therefore, we have to be very mindful of the fact that permissiveness leads to a certain level of quagmire, whereby that quagmire, once we get into it, is going to lead to the destruction of people and many other things, Matt. And that's how we have to look at it. So it's very sad we have come to this stage today. So I think not only that, we have structures that have sort of implicitly legitimized the use of drugs. But let us not be bashful and mindful about it. Almost every organization, structure, and substructure in Dominica now is consumed with the use of illegal substances. We know it has penetrated the police force. We know there are politicians who are deeply in bed with the drug use. We know there are businessmen who are involved. We know there are teachers. We know there are pastors. We know there are religious people. We know there are parents. We know there are people who are in the banking institution who are highly complicit with the conveying and the masking of the use of drugs and those kind of things there. So we have become a very permissive society because we have tend to feel that it is something that must be part of the culture for people to survive, for people to exist, for people to succeed. And so when you have parents who have young men coming home with motorcycles and giving them money and they know they're not working, but they will sit by and allow them to furnish their homes and pay the bills and those kind of things. And you see, all of this, we're talking about a societal issue that penetrates deeper than just marijuana and those kind of things there,
Well, we're looking for solutions. We've been talking for years about setting up a rehabilitation center. Why has this not become a reality?
I don't know, because the powers that be are just people who talk and don't know where to put their money where their mouth is. I have become someone who has become very moaning about the abuse of the $1.5 billion in Dominica. Let us look at it. Let us look at it on all levels. It's not only the rehabilitation center, because remember, when you have a rehabilitation center as well, a rehabilitation center is not just something where you put people away. A rehabilitation center has to have the right programs, recreational activities, spiritual activities, emotional programs, physical activities that will reform and heal people from the abuse of substances that they fall under. And it's going to take a lot. So it's going to take a lot of investment. It's not just finding a building. It's not just, you have to find the people, the resource, the programs, and the requisite budgets to ensure that not only that, you have to have the post-treatment exercises. You have to have certain internment and internship programs. You have to have life support programs and life-giving support programs for proper rehabilitation to take place. If that is not there, the rehabilitation center is going to come to naught. So my question is, how have we invested from the resources of this country for the well-being of the people of Dominica? look, let us, it's a pity you call me so because I know you like to cut me off early, but for the purpose of discussion, where is our creative art center? Where are our district basketball courts? Where is our athletics training field? What has happened to the Ara course of culture? When we look into our schools, what level of artistic and physical exercise activities have been infused in, or have they been removed? In our secondary schools now in Dominica, most of them are so academic that they have removed sports and arts and other creative arts from second and third form and concentrate only on CXC. When you look at our churches, what are our churches doing? When last did you hear a pastor or a priest talk about human dignity and against drug abuse? It's our mamsy-pamsy sermons to pacify people's good feelings. And so we have to have a complete approach to finding solutions. It's unfortunate we have come to the stage in Dominica now where, and I quite agree with you, every time you walk the streets of Roseau, you see a new one on the streets. And the question is, you may call us now to look at it, but how many people are really concerned about that? How many Dominicans are really paying attention to that? Is the DAIC paying attention to that? Is the Dominica Hotel and Tourism Association paying attention to that? And the parliamentary representatives paying attention to that? Now, if the business community, the DIC, the DHTA, the Dominica Employers Federation, the Rotary Club, all these people were paying attention to those things. Don't you think they would put their money where their mouth is and say, well, okay, how can we come together? How can we come together to treat and to deal with this societal issue that is affecting our communities? How will they do it? For instance, why can the business community come together and say, okay, let us see if we can demarcate an area whereby we can invest some of our profits so that these people can be housed and bathed and fed and be given daily activities and programs where they can be cleaned and their human dignity can be restored, and work in conjunction with all the social clubs that we have, the so-called Rotary Club and JCs, and all these elite societies who exist for whatever reason, I don't know. And the churches, and say, okay, let us have daily programs, let us have nightly programs, let us go out into the streets and take them and take care of them and see how we as a society can treat them. And then even so, when you look at our radio stations, I mean, you're part of the media. In Q95, sometimes you listen to Q95 and the music that Q95 plays on a distant 2:30 in the afternoon program, or other radio stations, the music that is played. You see, it's a collective effort, and it has to do with the changing of our mindsets. It has to do with the changing of our attitudes. It has to do with refocusing of our priorities as to what do we want of our people to go. Dominica has reached the stage now where anything goes. We are a licentious society that has opened up the books for anything to happen. So we see people smoking marijuana on the street. We have our children smoking marijuana. We don't care. Wives and girlfriends will see their husbands deeply steeped into drugs and alcohol, and they will turn their eye to it. Teachers in our schools will be aware of drugs, and it's okay for them to allow it to happen. So when you turn your back on things that you see that will lead to impending gloom, we have to face the doom. And that is a reality for the situation that we have today. Man, I just wish this isn't just a morning program for 1 hour. It's a serious situation. It saddens me, certainly. I'm hoping that I'm not the only person that it saddens. I'm glad you're bringing this to the fore, because I think what is hurtful about it is that you're looking at a human being full of potential, full of life, a divinely created person, somebody fearfully and wonderfully made by God, created and endowed with the capacities to maximize their full potential and to bloom and blossom. And today they are walking the streets as if they are nothing. That is very devilish. That is very ominous. And it is growing. And it is sad to see that so many people who are fearfully and wonderfully made, the prize of God's possession, is walking around as if they are the scum of the earth. It's very sad.
Simeon Joseph Couldn't have been said better.
Father, give me strength. Father, sing it song now.
Hunter, in the good old days, the cry of a parrot.
I cry not from tears, terrible pains or broken memories, only from knowing that I just can't bear to face tomorrow. My tears are all poison, with a lot of painful memories. Painful memories. Times of money, popularity, women and luxury. Friends, relatives, parasites, companions, with so many. Your relatives, they came from all around the country. Asking to silence the pushing for opportunity. Life was good and to be and all had fun. Nothing was the spot to shine up, strength was gone. But it was one terrible move, one wrong decision. And loneliness break me, they kill without no compassion. Oh, no, 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 no. Nobody knows my name. Oh, no, 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 no. For me, life is not the same. Remember when I was ready, I used to help everybody open-heartedly. Now I am done and
Powerful Calypso.
local friends I can find now are all about. Right now I'm in desperate need for really, really good deed. No matter how much I beg and plead.
On a WhatsApp message, it reads,
Nobody
there's no time to waste.
wants to help me get out of my misery.
Before this thing becomes an epidemic, something needs to be done. The government needs to take an initiative like yesterday. Otherwise, we're going to have an unproductive society. It's really saddening, my friend. There's no time to waste. An unproductive and destructive society is beneficial to no one. The government has to take a step now. You must treat drug addiction as a disease and provide the necessary help and treatment that these people need before it metastasizes into an epidemic proportion. Don't you worry, we'll take your phone calls in a while.
To take control of my life again. Cause a woman they can play off this crack and cocaine. Many a times I try to get back on my feet, but before I begin society convince my feet. Don't you remember the way I used to be before? Want to be like that again, I know I'm sure. I know I can, I am sure. Can take more this suicidal, it is not anymore. Oh, no, 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 no. Nobody knows my name. Oh, no, 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 no. For me, life is not the same. Remember when I was ready, I used to help everybody open up to me. Now I am done and almost out. Look at friends I can find out all about. Right now I'm in desperate need. Oh, I really, really do need. No matter how much I beg and plead for you, nobody wants to help me get out of my misery. Father, give me strength.
I know this story has moved many of people there. Including our good friend, Mr. Carlton Lando, has been following the story from morning. Mr. Carlton Lando, you too, you're very, very saddened by the situation here.
But good morning to you. Good morning to your listeners.
Good afternoon, Calty.
Yes, good afternoon. Well, it is an area that I've always had a keen interest in, particularly being very passionate about mental health myself. It is and more so because more of our men are affected or afflicted by mental illness, are affected by incarceration, drug abuse, violence, and even premature death. And so this is something that has to be a national discussion. The drug addiction aspect is merely a complication of other psychosocial issues or that would have been almost at the genesis. I'll give you an example. So just on the weekend, I saw this video that has been circulated on social media where an influencer visited Dominica over the weekend and was at the promenade, was asking people to sample a particular chip. And that chip is a very peppery chip. And many of our young men, I don't think no women sample that chip, only young men sample that chip, and they will coax to be given 40 US for doing it. And many people were cheering on and even encouraging them to have a repeat or take another chip. And that situation upset me because I said, but these people do not know what complication that chip is going to cause. They don't know that 40 US is practically about $106 EC, and that may not even take care of the medical bill based on the complication that that particular peppery chip would have caused. And people are cheering on and even asking others to participate and to repeat for $40 US. And it shows too that how easily people can be influenced to do things and partake in activities that can be very detrimental to them and their health. And the very same thing is applicable to most of the drug addiction situations that we see here. Many of our men have been socialized to not express themselves, to never cry, to basically be man up to everything that is affecting them. And most times they find themselves associating with people on the block. You would have seen it, Matt, where a gentleman, quote unquote, a young man would get himself oriented on the block. And the first 2 days, his pant is up on his waist. The next couple of times you see him, his pants is sagging. Then you may see him with multiple tattoos, and you're just starting to see that decline over and over and over. And so it really lends support to the social, psychological issues that are affecting us and how are we dealing with those issues. We have many young parents, even my mother had me at a very young age, but the era was very different. The time was very different when the community actually helped to raise the child, where teachers had autonomy, they had power, where the policeman was respected and the nurse was respected. Now we have seen a major shift in the way people are socialized. And it lends support to the discussion has to be broader than just the addiction of drug and the introduction to drug. What will cause a child to want to try a drug when they see the evidence is right in front of them when people are introduced to drugs and what it does to them. What could cause a child who have never used drugs to want to try drugs? Have we ever thought of that? Have we ever thought of the circumstances that are often bombarded?
A lot of times, Carlton, based on my observation, it has to do a lot with peer pressure, huh? Socialization.
It has, yeah, the peer pressure is one aspect of it. I've never smoked in my life, Matt. I grew up with my stepfather smoking weed all of my life. My father, my biological father, smoked as well, weed. And I never smoked in my life. I was around it and I never smoked. So not every child has that willpower to choose, to recognize, well, what is the real benefit of doing X, Y, Z. So it comes back to the empowerment. How do we empower young people? How do we empower our children? Those of us who have children. How do we communicate with them? How do we relate the everyday activities that we see that are negative activities that we see in our communities, and relay the information to them in such a way that they understand the repercussions of these actions? And these are some other things that we need to be talking about. Yes, the drug addiction is a major problem because it's a chronic one. And when it gets to that point, it actually becomes a brain disease. And that's why the psychiatrist was talking recently about its impact on the brain and how it's affecting the behaviors of people. And you heard from the account of the interviewer, the interviewee, that it's so compulsive that it almost controls who you are, that you have to resort by any means necessary to serve that craving. And the important thing is that we don't want our people to get to that point where it becomes a brain disease. We want to intercept all of the symptoms that are in front of us right now, and start dealing with it, having those discussions. And I think I'm really happy that you are bringing up this whole issue right now to broaden, because there's so many layers in this, as Simeon Joseph was saying. There's so many layers to it and so many different perspectives to it that it will take a couple of days and even further community discussions to be able to address this matter. Yes, a rehab center is important. I remember some years ago, the Ministry of Tourism was very concerned because it was affecting the tourism product and the industry. And they were thinking of locking up the people during the daytime and releasing them like bats in the night. And the human rights issues came up and recognized it would not be, it is not humanistically.
So how do we deal, Carlton? I mean, you're talking the situation where a couple of years ago the authorities decided to lock these people up during the day and in the night let them go. So how do we deal with the situation if we don't have a rehab center?
Well, I think it begins with one, if the people are provided. I know they have shelters where the people, you may not have a rehab, but at least you have a shelter where they can come, they can get a meal, they can have a bath. That already begins to make them feel worthy. At least they have some roof. They would have gotten clothes, they would have gotten a meal, somebody is there to talk to them. But if they're just out there in the wilderness, like nobody cares and nobody bothers, then it fuels them to get further into the action and into the addiction. But I know Mr. Prevost has this feeding program. I'm not too sure if it's still going on, where he feeds them on the weekend, and that is very noble. But then beyond that, what else is there to help these people? I am currently doing a mentorship program at the Dominican State Prison. And more and more, the group is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And in interacting with the men up there, most of them, they will tell you that they are afraid to leave the prison because they are especially those who are arrested and imprisoned for drug addictions and so forth, or drug importation and all of that. They're telling you because they know when they leave the prison, they're going to go right back. There is no, they don't have no cushion. There is no support base, nothing. And we've been talking about maybe even having the churches get involved. That okay, you might go out there, you might maybe integrate into a church. Maybe the church people might be able to assist you with some of your basic needs and counseling and all of that. That might help you because the environment is still out there, and that's where they find solace. That's where they find recognition. That's where they get the support that they need. Because many of us, as business owners, may not want to employ them, and so we have the recycling of the same habits happening because they don't get the second chances. Nobody want to trust them. Nobody want to give them that opportunity to prove themselves that they have been rehabilitated. And even in the prison system, there isn't much of a program that is so formal where our young men can be well, we have maybe just one, two women up there, but most of them are men. And I mean, the stories you hear, man, it's something. Most of our men, they will tell you that they grew up in a fragmented home without a father. They don't know their father. Their father was never part of their life. And more, as I do the program, I'm recognizing again the need for volunteers, retired teachers who might be able to come or speak to the prison officer that might be able to come and even do some tutorial work at the prison to help the young men to kind of find their purpose and to understand. Because, as I said, the drug addiction is merely just a complication of many other factors that are present before the addiction actually occurs.
All right, again, Carlton Lando there, pharmacist here in Dominica, speaking to the same issue we've been talking about from morning. We're going to take in more voices there, but I want to play. I spoke this morning also to a mental health officer in the United States. So, a Dominican who wants to share her views on some of the areas that we can, help deal with the situation.
Matt, I believe before starting any mental health awareness, mental health wellness, we need to start by educating people on mental health education, just as simple. It's approaches that includes community engagement, training educators, and having a policy development, right? Before we begin this, it is important to understand that the country does not have an existing mental health framework. To begin this framework, we need to start by conducting surveys and studies to assess the condition of mental health issues among the different age groups. Secondly, we need to understand cultural context. Let me break this down. It means that recognizing the cultural attitudes towards mental health that can affect the acceptance and the implementation, right, of mental health. So back home, I grew up knowing if you're drinking, substance use, right? It's called substance use. Back then, up till now, that person is a kosher, that person is a drunk, right? We need to step away from these cultural attitudes in order to have a better understanding of mental health, right? Simple things like, like a national policy, like to develop a national policy, supportive policy to ensure foundation for mental health education, training educators and staff. Educators play a vital role in developing effective mental health education. For example, we could have professional development programs like mental health first aid training and ongoing support for social workers, nurses, doctors, right? And another important thing is engaging parents and communities, right? Involving parents and communities enhances the effectiveness of mental health education. Let's involve everybody.
All right, so as a mental health officer there in the U.S., speaking to the story of as to some of the ways we can address the issue of mental health in Dominica. But most all of the afternoon, I've been getting requests because some people miss it and some people may just want to hear it again. This compelling story there from this drug addict on the Bayfront we spoke to, that of course initiated all of this discussion this afternoon. If you have not heard it, this is it. Here we go. So I'm at the Bayfront. Actually, I'm trying to get to the ground to understand why these young men get themselves deeply involved in drugs. What can you tell me?
Well, to my understanding, with most of the guys I know that smoking drugs, a lot of them start using drugs because of frustration and bad influence. You understand? Because a lot of them, they say weed is the healing of the nation, but weed is the gateway drug to all addiction. Some start smoke weed and then they want a higher high, they choose crack. Well, in my situation, I started smoking weed and I was tricked into smoking crack by a man that's smoking crack. They mix it with the weed and they pass it for me how much times and I had no idea. I check a friend of mine used to be there, he himself was smoking it and I didn't know he's smoking it, and it's after, he come and confess to me.
You were not on hard drugs?
But I didn't just choose to wake up this morning and say I'm going to buy a pack of cocaine. You check, and that I meet a lot of guys today, even young girls. Man, it is shocking in Dominica now.
So you see girls in that too?
My brother, it is shocking in Dominica now. There are certain gates, they call them, in Roseau. Some school children I just see go in there when they come out of school. And it's not just crack that in Dominica now, yeah. It have meth. In Dominica have meth. Powder. A lot of young people on powder right now. I telling you, Matt, we need a solution in terms of the government have to think right now to make a rehabilitation center. We need that in Dominica ASAP.
It appears that you want to get all of the drugs.
If it had a rehabilitation center in Dominica today, right now, I would walk in there and tell them I need help. I want crack is a thing. When I wake up in the morning, I willing not to smoke, but certain time of the day, the cravings hitting me, and when the cravings hit me, Matt, I have to find a way to buy a piece of cocaine. Beg of $5. And for them, I smoke that piece. Like I come back normal. I feel into work.
How many times a day you would take that?
Boy, sometimes I can't even come. Sometimes when I don't have money, and the dealers in Roseau right now, they give me, don't have so much drugs, so much cocaine right now.
A lot of dealers too?
A lot of dealers. Well, please have plenty drugs, but plenty dealers. Them man giving you cocaine for nothing, and when they give you the stone, you have to buy them for the day. They give it to you for free. Look at they call it open eyes. They open in your eyes, and whoever dealer that open your eyes, you have to continue buying for the day. So right now we're in a problem. We're in a serious problem in Dominica, brother. With that drug business.
You're one who have always told me that you need help.
I need help. I went to different institutions for help. I went to the government for help. The department. I live in Roseau, and Melissa promised us she will do something for us. I still waiting. My brother. I still waiting for her to open some kind of a center, because not just me. There are a lot of women, young women, grown-up women, young men that telling me, boy, I want to stop, but the help, and I know about the cravings, man. I know about the cravings. The cravings not easy. When you see we get the cravings in the morning, that is what drives 90 or even 100% of users to smoke.
So you need to have that high.
We need to have that high. All the time we don't have that high, we're not normal. But under the high, we're not normal. The high trying to let us believe we will be normal. But the body, cocaine does a thing, it captures the mind. Because when I was in Antigua and I went to Crossroad, I learned it captures the mind. It's a disease. It takes over a certain portion of the mind and
it kind of damages the brain.
It damages we cannot think straight. We need to be on medication. Because when you go to the rehab, they put you on medication for the first week, 2 weeks, to get that cocaine business out of your system. So it's not just a lot of people saying, oh, if you want to stop, you can stop. There are people who did it through the grace of God, but there are people who need medication to help them stop.
How much money you spend, and what would you do to get that crack?
Matt, I wash in vehicles. Sometimes for the day, maybe over 100. Sometimes if I don't have money,
really?
Yeah, not every day. Not every day. Sometimes I don't get no vehicle to wash. So days I don't get no vehicle to wash. The dealers will pass. They'll pass on bike. They'll pass in the car, and they'll tell me, "Yo, go and say, look up for tomorrow." But I must, if they give me a 50 and I do pay tomorrow, it come in 100. So I have to find a way to give them
But it can become dangerous, though.
Matt, the amount of people I know, the amount of right now in Roseau have so much disappearance. I don't want to talk too much because crackheads and what you calling them, those just disappear Roseau. On one hand, I can come over 10 paros I know that does disappear. Man and woman, that does disappear. Who steal dealers' crack and they disappear. Who take dealers' drugs and they could not pay, they disappear. It's a dangerous business. It's a dangerous business, but asking God to guide and protect me and take me out of that crack cocaine business, brother.
You need help.
I need help. I need help. No, yesterday I need help. You know?
Okay, bro.
All right. You, yeah, no problem, brother.
Yeah. We can take your phone calls at this time.
Father, give me strength.
The theme song there for the afternoon.
Sing it song now.
On the telephone, good afternoon to you, yes?
Mato, good afternoon. I just get listening to you. I just hear that young man, the guy didn't hear it this morning. Matt, that is sad. He need help and he cannot get help. Matt, that is something else. Matt, get a Prince Other song at carnival time. Look another paro in Roseau. I don't know if you can find it appropriate.
I'll try to find it. Yeah. Thank you.
Friends, relatives, parasites, companions, too many.
The numbers to call are 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097.
Into silence, the pushing for opportunity. Life was good and to be and all and fun. Nothing was to spot the shine of strength was gone. But it was one terror.
No, I was more moved
one wrong decision.
When he said and he revealed that a lot of young women are involved in that.
Oh, no.
Very sad, huh?
Nobody knows my name.
Hello, talk to me.
Oh, no.
And the voice you hear in the background is Franklin, my good buddy, you know. He can associate that, can tell you that. Hello, talk to me, yes? Are you there, caller?
Yes, my brother, I would like to congratulate you for that interview. And I think you need to do more like that. Because you see, I have been advocating for that a long time ago. And you have been giving me my few little shots. But you know, we're never going to no riot. You understand? Matt, this is a very serious thing which I've always been calling for an intervention into that with the government. You understand? Because I used to tell them the same how they blocking the road on a Wednesday is the same how they can go and check out the paro on the road because they're always waiting for if the paro do something. They talk about a vegan, that is they're not making them turn like that. Matt, you see, this will start from the home. And before I say what I'm going to say, I want to congratulate Angelo Allen, wherever he is. Because Matt, you see that thing they call it mental illness. It will shame you to do anything. And if you are not strong, you must be a ganja smoker or a crack smoker. Influenced by who? By the type of friends that you're following. And today now, that last generation, the type of friends they're following is not the neighbors that will look for them. First for people to look for themselves because it's children that making children. So there is a confusion now that we need to take care of the youth of today. If we say we want one graduate student in ours, Mrs. Eric, let us do something about those that is coming to Roseau from Portsmouth. And right now we are one by 295, you know. We have one right by 295 every day doing the same stuff. And some strong.
Well, I know you were talking about. I keep warning him for many months. I said, "Boy, stay away from the hard drugs," but he has gotten worse.
He cannot help himself, Matt. He needs somebody to help him. I tried to give him 2 little pants and 2 little shirts. And next day, he don't have it on top of him. And the way he's doing it.
I've seen it. I've seen him in the past couple of days wearing the same clothes over and over and over again.
What he needs help. If somebody was just checking on them in Roseau to make sure they did that, and that's what they say, they get their little food and their little thing. Matt, in closing, I have one of the greatest welder on land, which did the difference on the water and learned in America as a Marine, living in the jail in and out because of what? The same drug thing. And I can't talk to him. And I to God forgive me, I used to bring things for him, but he hates me so much when I see the state how he gets in, all before his time in the jail. I cried and I said, Lord, forgive me. I can't go back there. You understand? So I called him on the government and they said, if you promise to do something, there are a lot of places in Europe that you can do something for the youth. And Mark, thank you and
thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. It's 2:05 in the afternoon. More telephone calls, yes?
Love, life, light, healing, joy. Blessings to you, Mr. Peltier. What's up?
Blessings to you.
Franklin, blessings to you. Blessings to you, Franklin.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, give thanks. Matt, let me just give glory and more thanks and more praises to man like Simeon Joseph, as usual, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
You listen to the delivery, Matt. You listen to the multifaceted complexities having to do with our political, social, environmental, and financial problems. And he's talking about a holistic approach. Who's genuine enough to approach things holistically? If you have no love, no passion, Matt, do you know you can be a footballer? And when man called training is when you go in and train. You'd have another man training on the rain, lightning, thunder, he jogging, he feet, and that's not the team, Matt. That's a man that is obsessed with his occupation or his sport. And that's what you have to put your heart and soul into things, Matt, if you want results. You meet a people where they are. I heard you this morning. When you keep whatever you're keeping, and the paros are in the ghetto, in the gutters, and wherever they are they going to come back? You meet them where they are.
Mm-hmm.
You meet them where they are. And I heard that. Matt, there cannot be a compartmentalization, an individualization according to whose son or daughter it is. All of a sudden, government intervene. They can send them somewhere in the Caribbean. But to hell with those who are on the streets, Matt. So when you compartmentalize situations that is that complex, Matt, in the absence of a holistic approach, there will be zero results. And could it be the people that can do something about it, Matt? They have a horse in the race. They have some stake in it. To have them young men on the streets, even is to wash their cars, to clean their field, or to buy their own drugs, Matt. What is happening? Do you think anybody needs some results? Or maybe to have a lot of young men in that condition, that's the time when election come and we give them $100 and we make sure they vote for us. So do we need a very large amount of young people to be in that predicament and all of a sudden they get paid and blessings king for peanuts for the vote, Smart, and young women, prostitution, and all the madness that is happening? Do you think those in authority really cares about these people based on the pussyfoot, their pussyfooting having to do with these ills of society where it can multiply and even boomerang and impact them because they have children, they have loved ones, they have families, they have friends. So don't worry, man. It's just a matter of time. We're watching them and we're laughing and we see the ball, it is nasty, it's smelling, and do we understand what is really happening? And Matt, that thing I tell you is not marijuana, Matt. That is not marijuana. That is a dangerous GMO, genetically modified organism. And when you start playing with it, Matt, it will lead you to hell most of the times. Blessings, King.
Blessings.
I cry not from tears, terrible pain, no broken memories.
You know, one businessman has advised me that
Tomorrow,
there's something going on there at the St. Mary's Academy. I think
with
it's
a lot of
alcohol synonymous or
painful memories.
yes, alcoholic. Yes, synonymous. Room 103, I'm being told. So if you listen to the sound of my voice,
Your relatives, they came from all around the country. I've been to silence the pushing for
they meet every Thursday from 5 to 6.
all at fun. Nothing was to spot the shine of the strength was gone. But it was one terrible move, one wrong decision. And loneliness raped me, they killed without no compassion.
Somebody's revealing to me, Matt, you know that there are many medical students who are taking the hard drugs to and walking streets of Rosa Sparrow.
Oh, no. For me, life is not the same. Remember when I was running, I used to help everybody open-heartedly.
Somebody says here, Matt,
Now I am
you think it's easy?
so.
You think it's an easy road, bro? I met a woman outside Lindo Matt one Saturday, kind of depressed and conversing with herself. So I asked her whether she was okay. She said yes, but she was concerned about her son. I asked her what was wrong with her son. She said he applied for a job at the ministry, and so they told him to submit a plan, an application, I imagine, which he did. Government people kept the man's application. After months of inquiring, he couldn't get the plan or the application for that job. The 19-year-old from college just resorted to smoking weed and resisted he being taken to the psych unit. You think it's easy? There are many mothers crying out there, crying out silently.
Begging and borrowing, I keep on digging my empty pocket.
On the telephone, yes. Hello.
Yes, good day. How you doing?
How you doing, my brother? How you doing?
Hi, my brother. Yes, we still taking calls on that subject of addiction, right?
Yes, we are.
Yes. Oh, listen, man. Listen. The bottom line is, you've got to blame all the government that has been too dominated because they haven't taken that situation seriously. Now, we need family support. Lots of family support. Addiction needs family support. Okay, it's a disease. It is a cancer. It needs medication for life. Now, once you're addicted, normally it comes from the gene, comes from the gene. Normally you have a father who has been a pharmacist, or you have a father that has been drinking and for his blood and whatever it is addictive disease, his addictive, his ways of what's in him to make him addicted passes on to his son or for his sperm, So people born with that. Another thing, God did not make parrots; They made human beings. So with that, we need some kind of association. Now we don't depend on the government alone to put a home. We need a home. We need a place where we could have 28-day programs, maybe more. You need counselors, not counselors, professional counselors that come out from university. Let them run the show. But the real ones are the ones who have used. People who have been in addiction for many, many years and now clean for 5 to 10 years. And that's the kind of people we need around here. So when you get cravings, you could call people because cravings only last for about 15 minutes. You chew a gum or something, But other than that, you call somebody, you tell them what's going on with you. They say, okay, hold on, let's talk. When that 15 minutes pass, that craving is gone until the next round. And that's the way it is. Okay? So now also then when you have this home and you start give them breakfast, lunch, and dinner, that's you don't say that, okay, you didn't do it. Then these people are fed. Don't blame them for the action. They have a very serious disease, cancer. Now to treat it, You got to clean them. You got to give them good sleep, a good night's sleep. They got to rest. They can't be outside and telling you they're going to pick up something. They must pick up something. These people feel pain. Now, what is something? Anything that alters your mind is a drug. Rum is a drug. In fact, they should have AA programs down there, not only any narcotics down there, but they should have AA down there.
Yes, I've just been told that we have AA every Thursday night at the St. Mary's Academy. I think it's room 103. So
okay. Now, are the counselors who are people who have used before or something?
I can't tell you who the people are, but apparently some professionals are taking care of that.
Okay, but we need any program. We need churches to come involved. We need basements. We need nights. Because after coming from the rehab, it doesn't stop there. They have to go to night meetings. Again, you could have group. You have to have people around you. You have people who have used. People have to come out within themselves. Remember, it's anonymous. Nobody got to know you going in there. So what do you think? You can even a man. I mean, a married man can go using or drinking or sleep with his wife just like any ordinary person. Parents are the only one. I mean, drug addicts are not the only people who use. Drug addicts is all through lawyers, doctors, everything, No, they must have, and then they have to teach them to avoid places like rum shops, joints that have the craft. Avoid passing there. They got to have tools to learn, They got to have a sponsor they could call while they have their addiction, their cravings. And it goes on and on and on. But they did 20 program, and then it continues with them nightly and other times like that. But with drug addiction. And I believe that to start it off for the addiction, the group therapy and all this to start, they need counselors, drug counselors from overseas, people who are drug counseling, but people who have used before come down and start it off.
All right, caller, we're going to take more phone calls. Thank you, though, for your contribution here this afternoon. Let's take a few more phone calls. Yes, I will take a break and we'll come back, yeah? I'm here.
Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Matt, I listened to the interview with this young man. I got two children, 2 boys and a girl, and my heart is melting, Matt. And Matt, I'm pleading to anybody, any pastor that concerned about people's well-being, and they can be a help to this man. Please help him in Dominica, because Matt, you can see he need help, and it is anytime you see somebody in need of help and asking help, the person really, really want to get out, Matt. And Matt, while you playing that, I'm asking myself, every program you have the police listening to the program, they're taping the program. I'm asking myself, the chief of police, isn't he hearing this program so he can try his best to go to the government, try to get somewhere to help this man and interview him, see if they could lock up all those people who selling these jobs and destroy young people's lives? Is he not listening? Mr. Chief of Police, are you not listening to this program? Thank you, Matt.
All right, again, thank you. 449-3095. 96 and 97. We're going to take a break and we'll come back. When we come back, we'll speak again to Simeon Joseph, social scientist. He seemed very, very into the program here. We're going to give him an encore this afternoon. Stick around. And this is Q95. This is the Talk on the Block.
Something good. Something good. Fantastic news from Eaststar Trading Limited, presenting yet another top quality, unbeatably priced product brought in especially for you. Just receive world-class Cleo brand canned tuna in chunks and flakes, available in sunflower oil and brine. Prices start as low as $2.95 per can. Yes, you heard right. Cleo brand canned tuna. Perfect for delicious dishes at home, in restaurants and hotels. Shop and save today on world-class Cleo brand tuna. Available at Eaststar Trading Limited. Eaststar Trading Limited. Working hard every day to make a difference for you. Something good. Something good.
Dominique, Dominicans, enjoy your property, protect your property. You homeowner and businessman, protect your property, enjoy your property. Can't wait for the hurricane, can't wait till you flood again, can't wait till your roof fly out and all your business coming out. Remember, no insurance company will insure your property when a storm is approaching. Get ahead of the hurricane season and insure with a company who gives you the assurance of payment for your valid claim. Come speak with us today at the New India Assurance Company Limited, upstairs AC Shillingford and Company Limited, 24 King George Street, Roseau. Bring along an up-to-date valuation from a qualified engineer and get insured today.
Father, give me strength. Mother. Sing it somehow.
Again, we have social scientist Mr. Simeon Joseph. Simeon, is rehabilitation on AA the answer that we need in Dominica? Just a quick question there.
Well, Matt, AA and rehabilitation are one and the same. AA is Alcoholics Anonymous, that deals with people who are dealing with alcoholic addiction and problems. So that's AA. There are several branches to the EE thing. There's Al-Anon as well, which is for the family of those who are going through alcohol. Because one of the things we have to understand the rehabilitation process, it is not only for the victim of substance abuse, it is also for the family to assist them in providing the necessary support. I don't think we have an Al-Anon thing in Dominica, but let me say that. Hats off to Monty Liverpool, who for the past 20 years or more has been single-handedly carrying forth on his shoulders the AA program. We know Monty, no secret, is a recovering substance abuser, and he has been able to make great strides for himself. I'm aware that he meets at SME because we are in very close contact, and I know that since Monty was at the back of the old SMP years ago, he was promised a place. He tried his best, and anybody remember things were promised to him to things. So rehabilitation is just one aspect, Matt. It's just one aspect. And let me tell you, in Trinidad, there are about 5 rehabilitation centers. I remember when I was doing my pastoral care and studies, doing my internships at Cora in Rima in Trinidad, as well as Monks and Benedict, which is a rehabilitation center. So that these 2 places were my centers for attachment when I was doing my pastoral and psychological studies. And now there are 3, 4. Now there's no country in the world that has more powers on the streets than Trinidad and Tobago. Similarly, in Jamaica, when I was doing my sociology and social work, I was also part of a rehab center in Jamaica. Jamaica has many rehab centers, and they too have drug problems and violence and those things. So it doesn't only rest with rehab centers. It rests with, as I said, the collective will of everybody. And to think, no, 2 things, Matt. It touched my heart to listen to this young man that you interviewed today. And make no mistake about it, on the streets of Roseau, there's a former island scholar walking the streets of Dominica today. As someone who has been a victim of mental illness.
I know.
We've had former teachers. Yeah, there are 2 former teachers who are on the streets. There are 2 former musicians, prominent musicians who are on the streets. So all we can say, Matt, there go I, but for the grace of God, because one of the things we have to understand, this thing can fall on anybody. One of the things we have to understand is that substance abuse and drug abuse is not something that comes overnight. And rightly said, it was said earlier by a caller, and you alluded to that, is that Substance abuse can begin with many unresolved issues in the lives of people. Of course, there are those who go through peer pressure and entertainment, and there are those who gravitate towards abuse of substances, either through barbiturates, hallucinogens, antidepressants, stimulants, all those different kind of things. So people gravitate to different types of substances based on their a priori existing psychological conditions or physical conditions, as the case may be, or their societal or environmental factors. And so it's a major thing to be done and something to be understood on a deeper level. Just by way of introduction, Matt, that's what I'd like to say. I'd also like to say that, in 1996, I was the secretary of the Drug Abuse Task Force in Dominica. Made up of that task force were people like Dr. Francis Severin, Rosamond Roll, Violin Leta, Annie Benjamin, and a lot of us were part of the Drug Abuse Task Force in Dominica. And we had the occasion in June of 1997 to meet with the then Attorney General and the Commissioner of Police and the Minister of Social Welfare to express to them and to present to them our research that we had found among the youth in Dominica and the level of marijuana use and alcohol use. And they told us then that Dominica, although we presented the statistics to them, school children were already being involved. They told us Dominica does not have a drug problem.
Really?
Ironic? Yes, that's what we were told in 9th of June, 1997, at a meeting with the Attorney General of Dominica, the Minister of Social Home Affairs, and the Commissioner of Police at the time. That's what we were told. Ironically, around that same time, I don't know if you remember, the Freedom Party government under Eugene Charles passed some stiff penalties for possession of illegal drugs. 5,000, 10,000, 15,000. That's where the law that is on the books now came about. That's just ironic. We did not have a drug problem, but 2 months later, I think it was in August of that same year, in Parliament was passed one of the most stringent things. Over the years, we have had the United States agency working with our so-called, RSSU, putting millions of dollars into the police force and giving all kind of equipments to combat drugs and all those kind of things. And what has become? What has become of it? And so that should tell us something, that it is more than just programs. It is more than just law. It is more than just implementation of structures. What was that?
Somebody says we need policies.
But we have policies are only driven by action. We have many policies on the books. If you go through the laws of Dominica, there are several policies that have been in place. There are proposals that have been made for rehab centers and rehabilitation programs and programs in school. Don't forget, we had the drug abuse program unit that was headed, I think, some point that by this guy from Salisbury, and even I think at one point Mervyn whatever from Portsmouth, who became GIS. What has become of all those programs? One of the things we have to understand, from a spiritual perspective, drugs is of the devil, period. And so Satan has been able to infiltrate his way into the lives of people. He has been able to dominate and captivate our generation into that kind of evilish environment of drug abuse. As the first thing. The second thing we have to look at is people are captured. These people are captured and they have to be released. They have to be exorcised. They have to be delivered from that possession of drug abuse. Secondly, one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that from a psychological perspective, from a human growth and development perspective, we have a lot of our young people who are growing up not living holistic lives. So what do I mean by that? There are 5 dimensions to the human being. Allow me to deal on that. Okay. So there's the spiritual dimension, there is the cognitive dimension, there is the physical dimension, there is the social dimension, and there is the emotional dimension for life. That is what would usher people to live a balanced life. When we look at our young people today, there is many of our young people are devoid of the spiritual dimension. More and more for young people don't go to church. More for young people are absent from the presence of God. So that is one element of life that is extracted. When we look at the physical dimension of life, our young people are just not taking care of themselves. They eat wrong, but look at the number of them who don't have proper sleep, who are involved in alcohol, who are involved in late nights out, who are involved in losing sleep. In the future, I can see 20 years from now, Dominica is going to have a major hypertensive problem because of the young people in Dominica who are losing sleep, lacking in proper rest, and being exposed to high noise decibels. We look at just how many. So physically, there is a concern. When we look at the cognitive dimension where our young people are supposed to develop their minds, just look at the number of young men today who are high school dropouts, who will not take up the challenge to go to university to do a first degree, who will not be open to anything to reading, to public discussions and public forum, and to develop their mind. That is another area that is lacking. Then when we look at the social dimension, we are being maladjusted in society, because when you look at it, a lot of our young people, their social interaction is lacking of healthy social interaction opportunities. And that is something we have to be concerned about. What are they exposed to? What are our young men, our young people exposed to? What social inclusive activities? And that is why this morning I alluded to the fact that we have to have more healthy social activities for young people to be involved in. All they are doing is drinking rum, COing, fetting, going on bus ride, overnight fetting, weekend fetting, Wednesday fetting, Sunday fetting, Monday fetting, Wednesday fetting, every day of the week fetting, whole night drinking rum, COing. That is the kind of socialization that our young people are exposed to. And when you have that kind of socialization, comes with it drugs, alcohol, and all sorts of illicit behaviors that is going to lead them down the wrong path. Lastly, when we look at the emotional parts of life, many of these young people grow up without fathers. Look at the raw statistics. How many of our young people today have grown up without proper parenting, without the right home environment, without experiencing true love and affection and acceptance and the right guidance to help them to be all-rounded. So when you look at those 5 dimensions of life, and that will allow one to make healthy decisions in life, to grow up healthily, to socialize healthily, to have a good spiritual mind, to have a good cognitive mind, is lacking. What is open to them now is what we see happening today. So because of their exposure to the wrong things in life and their lack of interest and exposure to the positive things in life, you have what we have today. When a young man and a young woman grows up in the morning, what are they getting up to? Isn't it sad? Just bear with me. Isn't it sad and troubling to see that as you drive around Dominica from Monday to Friday, you go to Bath Estate, you go to Newtown, you go to Roseau, you go to Parish Street, and you start going. There are young men in Dominica who live for getting up in the morning and going and sit down on the side of the road until midnight.
On the block.
And that's all they do 24/7. Not healthily engaged, not productively occupied. Do you know today in Dominica, there are young men who would have graduated from high school, 18, 19, and have not gotten a job, and they're now in their late 20s and 30s, never had the experience of employment?
That's true.
Okay, so that is what is happening today. And so what do you think is going to come out of that when that's all they are exposed to? Then you also have to think, Matt, bear with me, of the unequal, unjust structures that exist in society. Let me give you an example, Matt. Just bear with me again. Not too long ago, I had the opportunity to speak to a young man who told me that he had applied for a job in one of the banks in Dominica, and he was told there are no vacancies. They are not employing anymore. He had a very good friend. They went to school together. They lined together, or they spoke together. And that other friend applied to the same institution after him and was given a job. How did that happen? Because of pull string. So when you have those kind of unjust societal structures that are prejudiced and undermining to equal opportunities for our young men in Dominica, what do you expect of them? When you have decent young men in Dominica who apply to the police force and they are not accepted, and others who are running rogue can go to the commissioner of police and say, my pal rep sent me, what do you expect them to do? And I'm very frank about it. When you have young men in Dominica who try to go to different financial institutions to do something for themselves and they get barriers and blockages everywhere they pass in life. These are we have to keep it in balance. Yeah? So while we might be alarmed and concerned of the fact that our young people are going astray, we also have to critically look at what are the societal and structural things that are instituted that deny and deprive and undermine our young men from fair and equal opportunities in life. Let us go to the education system. The education system is drastically tailored for young ladies. But let us just go further. Young men are born without a mother. They go to primary school, they have a female teacher. They go to preschool, they have a female teacher. They go to secondary school, they have a female teacher. They go to college, they have a female teacher. There is very little male positive models in their lives from birth to adulthood. And so therefore, I'm saying that to say the kind of, how you call it, I'm looking for the proper word, the kind of resilient exposure that they need to have, that they will model from a male, things like tolerance, things like the ability to be strong, things like the ability to stand up to pressure, things like the ability to look over bullying, etc., etc., etc. What do you expect? And bear with me, Matt, I'm going to be very controversial now. When you also have in the socialization sphere for the young men in Dominica, every socialization group that was created for the formation and the development of young men in Dominica has been taken over by females. The scouting movement is dominated now by females. We have the cadet corps dominated by females. Altar servers dominated by females. Even football and basketball now, the female teams are getting more recognition than the males. So you see the vast area of marginalization of males in every sector of society. We don't have male guides. We don't have male brownies. We don't. Very few men play netball. We know we have women dominating basketball. So you find that in all of this, we are opening up a society where the engagement and the full employment of our males in Dominica is severely being undermined, and our men and our males are being deprived of the opportunity to become actively engaged, where they are able to fully utilize their social, emotional, spiritual, and physical dimensions for them to lead healthy lives.
So the women are taking over then, Simeon?
I'm not saying that so simply, but I mean, everybody has to open their eyes and see. Just look at the public service, okay? And I mean, that is too much of a simple statement. I'm saying that we have to be able to see things in a balance. Whether women are taking over or not, we have to ask ourselves what opportunities are created for young men, what doors are opening for young men. What is the sphere of involvement and existence and productivity and engagement for our young men? It's very sad, very sad. So, it's a wide area that we have to discuss. And that is the overall rehabilitation that has to take place in society.
But let me ask you again, let me ask you again. Now that we're looking for solutions, we have serious drug problems on the streets. It's very, very clear. What is the solution, short-term solution to solving the problem?
There are many short-term solutions. One, as I said this morning, and I echoed, one, we have to look at a commitment to restore the dignity of the people in the street. That's the first thing. In other words, we have to clean up the streets and clean them up. This stupid proposal that was raised by the business sector, the tourism department, of just lock them out in the day and open them out at night, that is a short-term, foolish, short-sighted exercise. What we need now is a very proactive, a very involved, a very committed effort of the church, the business community, the social organizations coming together and helping these men to regain some dignity, bathing them, feeding them, counseling, letting them feel like somebody of worth. That's the first thing. So, and that is something that can be done overnight. Okay, you identify a place, you identify one or two people. Look at all these NEP people running around. We should have been train them to go and bathe these people and clean them up. What are they doing? Paying them to do nothing and even making them work in institutions where people can afford to pay people. So we have people around. We are enough of people we can have engaged in getting these people one by one, bringing them into a decent home, giving them a shelter, a cup of tea, clothing them, making them feel like decent human beings, engaging them. Even if you have to give an area where people can bring their cars and wash and they make their money and they do a number of things where they can become engaged in society by society taking care of them. We owe it. From a biblical imperative and a Christian imperative to take care of the least among us as the first thing. And there can be a collective effort to do that in no time. Secondly, what has to be done, I think, we need a massive, not information, but an education program that is long-term, that is well thought out, and that can be disseminated not only to schools, but on the radio, the media has a role to play. Just as the media is playing a very dangerous role today in exposing to our young people all kind of raucous and unhealthy music on the radio, more time should be spent, I think, in educating people from a healthy perspective as to the dangers of drug abuse and substance abuse and those kind of things. That's the second thing. So we need a thorough education program from all perspectives. Then we need to have a very robust legal mechanism put in place whereby those who are responsible for the destruction of people through drugs must be held accountable and be dealt with in no uncertain terms in a very stern way. That is it. And that is what has to be done. And then there are other things as well that we can do from other perspectives. So I think it has to be a well thought out, balanced, thorough approach that because of the fact that one, Dominica is just 70,000 people. You can say, for instance, that per capita, we have a very high rate of people who have become victims of drug abuse and let us not forget, all of these people might be going through the mental thing. Then we have to be able to reach out. There must be something where you expand certain programs in Dominica to reach out to parents, because, man, I feel sorry for mothers who have to know that their sons are on the streets so dirty and unbathed and unkept. Don't tell me mothers. I mean, some mothers must be really grieving and crying in their heart, knowing that that is the state of their children, the birth of their womb on the street. You have to feel for them. You know, you must feel for some of these women and families who see their brothers and sisters going astray and into the gutters. You have to feel sorry for them. Somebody has to find some way, either through the churches, of regular counseling, because the support mechanism is equally important. How do you deal with some people? Just cannot deal with them. There's some parents and family members who just cannot deal with their siblings who are on drugs. They just don't know what to do. They don't know where to start. They don't know where to turn. We have to look out for them. So that has to be part of the program. So it's long term. It's not short term. It's not about, most people when they think of a rehab center, just put them away. No human being deserves to be just put away. If we're taking care of people, we have to do it genuinely, we have to do it holistically, it must be all-inclusive, and it must consider all the factors that would make people whole again, because that is what Dominica needs. Our society needs to be whole again.
All right, Simeon, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
With a lot of painful memories.
A lot of food for thought there.
Painful memories.
Social scientists, they call him Simeon Joseph.
Women and love to be.
Always trying to find solutions.
Parasites, companions, too many. Your relatives, they came from all around the country. Asking to silence the pushing for opportunity. Life was good and to be and all and fun. Nothing was the spot to shine up the strength.
Simeon's
But it was one.
speaking facts. I see women getting employed in fields that they can't do, and men that went to college are denied, huh? That's a different subject by itself.
Nobody knows my name. Oh, Oh, no, 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 no.
Real talk, Simeon, somebody says. Real talk.
For me, life is not the same.
Simeon is spot on.
Remember when I was really, I used to help everybody open-heartedly. Now I am.
Let's, of course, take a few phone calls and we'll play again because everybody keep asking for the storyline there that we started with this afternoon there with this drug addict on the Bayfront. Hello, talk to me on the telephone, yeah? Uh-huh.
Matt,
Yes.
I can never tire of hearing Simeon speak. You could let Simeon speak for the whole session. I can listen to him. Matt, get the song, Another Paro in Roseau.
Yes, I'm trying to get it. Lucille. I'm trying to get it. Okay, thank you very much. Again, let's listen again for the final time for the day. This story that seemed to have, pushed a few people that to realize that the stories of the pyros are real. That's why we see more pyros every day on the streets of Roseau. Let's listen again to his story. I'm at the Bayfront. Actually, I'm trying to get to the ground to understand why these young men get themselves deeply involved in drugs. What can you tell me?
Well, to my understanding, with most of the guys I know that smoking drugs, a lot of them start using drugs because of frustration and bad influence. You understand? Because a lot of them, they say weed is the healing of the nation, but weed is the gateway drug to all addiction. Some start smoke weed and then they want a higher high, they choose crack. Well, in my situation, I started smoking weed and I was tricked into smoking crack by a man that's smoking crack. They mix it with the weed and they pass it for me how much times and I had no idea. I check, a friend of mine used to be there, he himself was smoking it and I didn't know he's smoking it, and it's after, he come and confess to me.
You were not on hard drugs.
But I didn't just choose to wake up this morning and say I'm going to buy a pack of cocaine. You check, and that I meet a lot of guys today, even young girls. Man, it is shocking in Dominica now.
So you see girls in that too?
My brother, it is shocking in Dominica now. There are certain gates, they call them, in Roseau. Some school children I just see go in there when they come out of school. And it's not just crack that in Dominica now, yeah. It have meth. In Dominica have meth. Powder. A lot of young people on powder right now. I telling you, Matt, we need a solution in terms of the government have to think right now to make a rehabilitation center. We need that in Dominica ASAP.
It appears that you want to get all of the drugs.
If it had a rehabilitation center in Dominica today, right now, I would walk in there and tell them I need help. I want crack is a thing. When I wake up in the morning, I willing not to smoke. But certain time of the day, the cravings hitting me. And when the cravings hit me, Matt, I have to find a way to buy a piece of cocaine. Beg of $5. And for example, I smoke that piece. Like I come back normal. I feel into work.
How many times a day you would take that?
Boy, sometimes I can't even come. Sometimes when I don't have money, and the dealers in Roseau right now, they give me don't have so much drugs, so much cocaine right now.
A lot of dealers too?
A lot of dealers. Well, please have plenty drugs, but plenty dealers. Them man giving you cocaine for nothing, and when they give you the stone, you have to buy them for the day. They giving it to you for free. Look at open, they call it open eyes. They open in your eyes, and whoever dealer open your eyes, you have to continue buying for the day. So right now we're in a problem. We're in a serious problem in Dominica, brother. With that drug business.
You're one who have always told me that you need help.
I need help. I went to different institutions for help. I went to the government for help. I live in Roseau, and Melissa promised us she will do something for us. I still waiting. My brother. I still waiting for her to open some kind of a center, because not just me. There are a lot of women, young women, grown-up women, young men that telling me, boy, I want to stop, but the help, and I know about the cravings, man. I know about the cravings. The cravings not easy. When you see we get the cravings in the morning, that is what drives 90 or even 100% of users to smoke.
So you need to have that high.
We need to have that high. All the time we don't have that high, we're not normal. But under the high, we're not normal. The high trying to let us believe we will be normal. But the body, cocaine does a thing, it captures the mind. Because when I was in Antigua and I went to Crossroad, I learned it captures the mind. It's a disease. It takes over a certain portion of the mind and
it kind of damages the brain.
It damages the, we cannot think straight. We need to be on medication. Because when you go to the rehab, they put you on medication for the first week, 2 weeks, to get that cocaine business out of your system. You know, so it's not just a lot of them saying, oh, if you want to stop, you can stop. There are people who did it through the grace of God, but there are people who need medication to help them stop.
How much money you spend, and what would you do to get that crack?
Mark, I wash in vehicles. Sometimes for the day, maybe over 100. Sometimes if I don't have money,
really?
Yeah, not every day. Not every day. You know, sometimes I don't get no vehicle to wash. So days I don't get no vehicle to wash. The dealers will pass. They'll pass on bike. They'll pass in their car, and they'll tell me, "Oh, go and say, look up in for tomorrow." But I must, if they give me a 50 and I do pay tomorrow, it come in 100. So I have to find a way to give them.
But it can become dangerous, though.
Matt, the amount of people I know, the amount of right now in Roseau have so much disappearance. I don't want to talk too much because crackheads and well, they call them paro. Those just disappear Roseau. On one hand, I can count over 10 paros I know that does disappear. Man and woman, that does disappear. Who steal dealers' crack and they disappear. Who take dealers' drugs and they could not pay, they disappear. It's a dangerous business. It's a dangerous business, but asking God to guide and protect me and take me out of that crack cocaine business world.
You need help.
I need help. I need help. No, yesterday I need help. You know?
Okay, bro.
All
Thank
right.
you, huh?
Yeah, no problem, brother.
Yeah. The real story, I need help. Are we listening? Now, this man's story is so sad. Tears are in my eyes. He really wants to get help. Where are the police to patrol the sites 24/7? Well, send Mr. Simeon. Mr. Simeon Joseph does not speak with eggshells in his mouth. Somebody's sharing here. Hello, talk to me on the telephone. We have about 10 more minutes on this.
Yeah, my brother, it's really heartbreaking listening to you interacting with this individual. I appreciate what he did, and I hope you keep that on the record and play it for the young people. Even in the schools, they should be listening to that. And think about it, my brother, they have nothing to do with political party. We in Dominica should be one to put our heads together to see to it that this thing don't destroy our children. Because look at one individual, a couple individuals went to overseas and train and brought back gold. My brother, our children have those ability, but we need proper facility in Dominica. We have to do that collectively, my brother. It's not coincidence that drug came into Dominica. That's to destroy the Dominica was always like a force, you know, my brother, in sports, into music. Something is there to destroy our future generation, and don't put politics in that. We as a people, we have to put politics aside and come together to rid that demonic powder in Dominica. How you see your church in person, and when you won't come together to rid of this evil to destroy our children in Dominica. Man, people, you see, boy, I tell boy, hellfire has to be burning on people that refuse to stand up for Dominica, you know, and see the children languishing on the roadside because a friend told them to try it. And once you try it, there's no turning back, you know, like the brother said. This thing is addict, man. It's just sad, man. Fire burn them wicked.
I know there's drug dealers out there destroying the minds of our young people there. Somebody's saying, Max, it's over 6 years I'm hearing that Dominica has 70,000 people. It doesn't go up or it doesn't go down. We stick on one number there. 70,000 people. Nobody can tell me what we had our last census. Somebody says, man, I know a certain guy on cocaine. That is now in for 2 months on remand for stealing to satisfy his cravings. You hear that story, or that's, you know, many stories like that, you know. They need to have that heat. somebody's revealing to me, Matt, the police, some of them are police officers who are engaged themselves in supplying the hard drug, the cocaine, the police and politicians. Let's take a little voice note there. Of course, we have to cut it short from Mr. Louis Robinson there.
Mr. Peltier, good afternoon. Dominicans, Patriots, good afternoon. Matt, I listened attentively to Mr. Joseph, and I couldn't concur better with him. However, Matt, in the aspect of spiritual, we must be mindful, Matt, of it didn't start recently, Matt. But most of our students who came back from higher learning, that is from the university, came back with this socialist communist ideology that there was no God. And in fact, since a lot of them admired Fidel Castro and his socialist communist ideology so very much, they forget to mention to people that in one of his experiments, Fidel Castro gathered school children in a large auditorium, asked them to pray to God for ice cream. Now, close your eyes and pray to God and ask for ice cream. Of course, when they opened their eye, there was no ice cream. In the meantime, he had his thing set up with his people in a back room somewhere with ice cream and all that. Then asked them to close their eye, and pray to him for ice cream. When they opened the ice cream was there, in their attempt to prove that there was no God. But what the children should have asked Castro to do is close his eyes and ask him whether he can see the atom. Yet they admit it's there. Neither of us can see the atom, but we know it is there and we admit it is there. So this thing started from that foundation. Basically, atheists, a lot of our university students, when they came out of these universities, even our own UE, denied the existence of God. They moved into atheism. They all become atheists. So once you have removed spiritualism and your faith from your life, there literally is nothing left.
Well, I'll tell you what. I want to do a little research on that one because I'm sure there are other people saying, "What? I never knew that." We'll try to find out more. Okay, Mr. Robinson. I'd like some of the Cuban students to speak to that. Maybe some of the university students from UWI to speak to that, to get the other side of the story, right? But this is how we wrap it up here in the afternoon.
I cry not from tears, terrible pains or broken memories, only from knowing that I just can't bear to face tomorrow. My tears are all poison.
Somebody says, man, if you want the police to get involved, have the Wednesday walkers walk along the gates side that the young man was talking about.
Women and luxury, friends, relatives, parasites, companions, so many.
I'm hoping that, of course, we provided much information, and I'm hoping that us as a society, we can do something for the young men whose lives have been destroyed as they had drugs. You see them every day on our streets in Roseau.
But it was one terrible move.
On the telephone, yes, sir. One more minute. One more.
Yeah, just quickly, Mr. Pelze. So Mr. Joseph said they're employing all the women and the men are they're languishing even if they're more qualified, man.
That's what he said.
Nobody knows my name. Oh, no. For me, life is not the
Our next stop is with Flo Dominica.
Remember when I was really, I used to help everybody open-heartedly. Now I am done and almost out. Local friends are
Somebody says, man, it's not the ganja, you know. It's the economic pressures of Dominica that is responsible for so many mental issues affecting our people. That's a WhatsApp from Paris.
Nobody wants to help me get out of my misery.
Somebody says, can Simeon tell us why all the altar servers are now women, are dominated by women?
Mother. Sing it down now. So my credibility, it's running short and bills are a lot. My woman have left me, my children and everything I got. Begging and borrowing, I keep on digging my empty pocket. When I'm around, anything valuable, you rush to look at. And when it's to take control of my life again, cause a woman that they can play off this crack and cocaine. Many a times I try to get back on my feet, but before I begin, society completes my feet. Don't you remember the way